Welcome to the Roy Morgan Quarterly Update. Shortly, I'll discuss the new rankings in brand trust and distrust, and then I'm going to explore Australia's energy dilemma, revealing findings from a brand new survey. But first, there's breaking news. After 3 years as the nation's most trusted brand, Woolworths has plummeted 194 places to become Australia's 5th most distrusted brand. But more on that later. Trust is the foundation of all human interactions. It's the glue that keeps us connected. According to Warren Buffett, arguably the world's most successful investor, trust is like the air we breathe. When it's present, nobody notices. But when it's absent, everybody notices. In other words, we often take trust for granted until it's lost. And then the social glue disappears, especially in business and social relationships. In the business world, trust is the invisible currency that underpins every successful enterprise. Trust underpins long-term growth and market value. Trust is our most enduring asset. But it's distrust we all have to fear. 17th century historian and philosopher Thomas Fuller famously said, "Where distrust enters, hope departs." This underscores the destructive impact of distrust, suggesting that it not only erodes confidence and collaboration, but also banishes optimism and potential, which are essential for progress and a positive future. And distrust has a negative material impact on business performance. Deloitte in the US found that trusted companies outperform distrusted brands 2.5 to 1, with 88% of customers who highly trust a brand more likely to buy again from it, repeatedly. So how do we measure trust and distrust? Since late 2017, Roy Morgan has continuously surveyed around 2,000 Australians each and every month through our risk monitor. And we ask people which brands they trust and which they distrust. Crucially, we ask why they trust or distrust the brands they nominated. And we record exactly what they say. Net scores are calculated by subtracting distrust from trust, and this provides a very full picture of how a brand is tracking, and it allows us to benchmark it against all others. This quantified qualitative research is unique. It's open-ended, it's unprompted, and completely context-free. And while pretty much everyone measures trust, only Roy Morgan measures distrust. So now let's look at key industry, net trust and net distrust rankings. By way of introduction, we roll up every mention of a brand into an aggregated industry sector and then report on that. Last quarter, I reported that the supermarket industry was the biggest loser. Well, the pain continues. Year on year, supermarkets have gone from being the #1 most trusted sector to becoming the 9th most distrusted. This has been driven by soaring distrust in Coles and Woolworths. Interestingly, look at all those green arrows. The dramatic decline of the supermarket sector allowed almost all of the rest to move up in rankings. Consumer products took the top spot this quarter. But what's happening with individual brand winners and losers? First, Australia's most trusted brands. Bunnings remains the nation's most trusted brand. Behind Bunnings, Aldi is second, followed by Kmart, Toyota, and Apple. There wasn't much movement in the top 10, but as you can see at the bottom of the table, both supermarket giants are now out of net trust territory. For the first time, Nike entered the top 20 most trusted brands list, and they're sitting at number 16. Looking at net trust scores trends for the top 3 most trusted brands, Bunnings remains consistently ahead of Aldi and Kmart. Interestingly, Bunnings and Kmart have been steady performers over the past 5 years, and Aldi's COVID drop was in direct contrast to Coles and Woolworths' rise. That said, all three have been pretty stable over time. So that's trust. But what's happening with the brands distrusted, the distrusted brands? Well, after its catastrophic data breach in late 2022, Optus still can't shake off its unenviable role as Australia's most distrusted brand. We at Roy Morgan are watching Optus as a litmus test for recovery rates following a disaster or some kind of scandal. And I have to say, its recovery is way more elusive than we ever imagined. We're now approaching 2 years and counting. Medibank, that other personal data breach villain, has, however, shown a positive recovery rate, improving another 6 rankings in the June quarter. Then there's Coles and Woolworths. They're now 4th and 5th, but I'll leave it there. Enough has been said about their unprecedented fall from grace. And speaking of spectacular falls from grace, Qantas has Optus to thank for preventing it from becoming the nation's most distrusted brand. Every quarter, I choose a different focus. This time, it's Australia's energy dilemma. The biggest issue we're facing, Australia's energy transformation, is all about trust. As Barack Obama famously said, if people cannot trust their government, all else is lost. If a government has trust, it can have a vision. Without trust, the energy transformation will become our biggest social, political, and economic dilemma. We'll look at the government shortly, but let's now explore whether Australian consumers trust or distrust the energy sector. It's a simple answer, and that answer is no. Energy is not trusted. In fact, it's currently the 8th most distrusted of all 27 industries. Looking back over the last 5 years, we can see that energy has always been more distrusted than trusted. The black dotted line is net distrust, calculated by subtracting distrust scores from trust scores. There are trusted energy brands, of course. Red Energy, Synergy and Alinta are more trusted than distrusted. But the big three, AGL, Origin Energy and Energy Australia, are the most distrusted. Australians distrust energy brands predominantly because of unaffordability, rip-off prices and price hikes. That's the row at the top. The dark rows are the energy brands, and the lighter colour is the average of all brands combined as a kind of baseline. Environmental irresponsibility is the other key reason for distrusting the energy sector. Rounding out the top 5 reasons for distrust are greed, poor customer service and dishonesty. In August, Roy Morgan conducted a SNAP poll, a special poll exploring how Australians feel about energy, the energy dilemma. The results are fascinating. We asked Australians which form of energy they most trust to ensure a reliable supply. Working down from the top, almost half, 47% of the population, trust renewables to deliver a reliable energy supply. Next comes nuclear. Less than a third of Australians, 31%, trust nuclear, and only 1 in 5, or 20%, trust coal and gas to do the job. So renewables are the nation's most trusted form of energy. Interestingly, energy sources split along gender lines. 56% of women, compared with just 38% of men, trust renewables. On the flip side, more men, 39% of men, compared with 22% of women, trust nuclear. And when it comes to fossil fuels, there's no real difference. 80% of everyone, both men and women, don't trust fossil fuels to deliver a reliable source of energy. Drilling down now on nuclear energy, we asked Australians if they believe the country should develop nuclear power plants to supply electricity. Half say yes, that's the green, and the other half say no, the black. So the population as a whole is absolutely divided. But is there a gender split? And the answers are yes. Most women, 62%, say no to nuclear power plants, and most men, 63%, say yes. Very divided. Coalition leader Peter Dutton is pushing for nuclear energy in Australia, so this data threatens to give him a woman-shaped problem at the next election in as little as 6 months. When asked what, if anything, worries them about nuclear energy, more than a quarter of Australians, in fact 29%, said nothing much worries them. Essentially, they think most of the issues can be resolved. 26% say they're worried about waste management, disposal, storage, and the lifespan of nuclear waste, while 22% are worried about how expensive it is to build and it not being worth the money. Only 1 in 10 are worried about the danger of accidents and the risks inherent in nuclear energy. Looking again at gender, more than a third of men, 37%, say nothing worries them, while just over a third of women, 34%, say nuclear waste and storage is their biggest worry. Interestingly, more men than women say they're worried about the cost of building nuclear power plants, and it won't be worth the money. Significantly more men than women are worried about it taking too long or being too late. So given the increasing politicisation of energy, do Australians trust the government to decide its future? That's the huge question. When we asked Australians if they trusted the government to decide on the future of energy, 2/3 gave a resounding thumbs down. They said no. But is there a split between the responses from men and women? No, we're all in furious agreement. 2/3 of women and 2/3 of men do not trust the government on the future of energy. And that begs the question, what if a coalition government were elected at the upcoming federal election? The answer is huge support for nuclear energy. Almost all, 92% of coalition voters support nuclear power. In contrast, ALP voters are resolutely opposed, 81% against nuclear, only 19% in favour. Regardless of the election outcome, one thing is certain: trust and distrust are at the heart of the energy dilemma in Australia. And that's a wrap for another quarter. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for a whole range of these and other Roy Morgan data. And if any of these things matter to you and you'd like to know more, contact Ask Roy Morgan at roymorgan.com. Thank you for joining me. Hope to see you next time.